On Wednesday, the Green Zephyr Group in the European Parliament held a workshop on intellectual property rights and green energy technologies. Green MEP Eva Lichtenberger interviewed some of the experts who took part. Some progressive innovations have never made it to the market. David Martin explains some of the reasons why.
The debate about technology and in the environment actually is not a new one. We have been through at least 3 energy crises, okay, and during those crises, an enormous amount was created. Electric cars, hydrogen propulsion, all of these things. The problem is that during none of those times did anybody actually take into account the financial underpinnings of the industries that currently hold sway. If you look at where the funding for these infrastructures comes from, you see a very interesting public-private partnership that is not disclosed. And the not disclosed piece is that sovereign industries, and by that I mean those things that operate under license, so oil companies, power companies, everything else, enjoy very long-term financings from governments and from other investors, and those people don't want to have a replacement because their returns are based on a 20 or 30-year bond, and if you innovate 5 years into a 30-year bond, then you're going to destroy the investment.
James Love has some useful ideas on how to reform the European patent system.
I think it's a mistake to have a one-size-fits-all approach to the patent system, or even to think that the patent system is always the most important thing about innovation. I think there's areas where the patent system is a very powerful tool, and strong intellectual property rights are the best policy.
Which one would you say would be the areas for it?
Well, if you have, for example, patents in areas where you don't have really complex technologies, where you have cases where the product itself is not subject to blocking patents, and when there's competition for the devices and things, and the competition's adequate, and you don't have really huge pricing problems. I mean, in those areas, I think that you don't really want to really interfere with, what the patent system does best. I think when you have really complicated technologies, or you have standards involved, or things like that, sometimes you have real problems with blocking patents, and in that case, you really need sort of probably the possibility of soft IPR, of weak IPR regimes. You don't have to go to zero, but you have to be able to override the monopoly. You have to allow people to, you have to give people the freedom to use patents if they compensate in some reasonable way the patent owner.
Gérard Giroux from the European Patent Office is a specialist in the role of intellectual property rights in technology transfer.
So what does the EPO do to facilitate the transfer of new technology relevant for climate change issues to developing countries?
So in general, the EPO is trying to make all the technical information of the world, which is contained in patent, but also in scientific publication, very broadly available, in particular to developing countries. Our system of distribution on internet is particularly performing and has changed the situation of developing countries. I do think that we distribute the patent in a much better way than publishers distribute scientific publication, because there is no price question, it's freely available to everybody. I don't deny that accessing the information is not everything. You have to understand it. It's a difficult subject. So in this respect, we collaborate with patent offices of developing countries in order to make them able to support their own inventor and company by interpreting what is in the public domain, what is in the patent, which is available for this system. So